that means you are also right to condemn Muhammad for his part in trading black people. And if you can condemn my ancestors, you can damn well condemn Muhammad. Peace at what cost? Should we accept the trading of black children in Africa for the sake of peace? There are lots of good Muslims who don't do bad things, but they do it because they're not following Islam.
True. A lot of people get sidetracked.
Just because we say, all right, I killed one person, what, there's hundreds of people dying over there, that doesn't take away from the fact I'm a murderer. I may be trying to distract you from that fact, but it's still a fact nevertheless. Yeah? So now, I'm going to show you again. In terms of, you did it again, you was like, oh yeah, they use the word Messiah, so he acknowledges that Islam acknowledges Prophet Muhammad, they acknowledge Jesus as the Messiah, but he's saying, oh, but they don't know what the Messiah is. Do you get what I'm saying? So again, we're undermining someone else's intelligence. And unless you speak Arabic, you can't say what they think the Messiah means. That's not fair. That's what that is. That's kind of a narcissistic approach to believe that you know more than them to even know what they understand without trying to understand them. That's narcissistic behavior. I'm not saying that you're aware you're doing this, but I'd point it out just so you can rectify that approach towards your studying. Do you understand? So now, when we're talking about these prophets, at the end of the day, the prophets never, not one of them, because I can go and show you how Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he set slaves free. Yeah? I can show you that he set slaves free. Does that mean that I can't bear witness to other atrocities that happened? No, I'm not ignorant. However, I can show you that he set slaves free. You can bear witness to Bilal and all these people. Do you understand? But the point that I'm trying to make here is that I believe there's too much bashing. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's practice. It's good practice. Yeah. Okay. So let me just deal with this. Messiah is a Hebrew word.
Okay.
Right. It's not an Arabic word. So I don't need to know Hebrew. We don't need to know Arabic to know what the Messiah is. We need to know Hebrew. And the reality is that you can also go and ask Muslims, what does it mean for Jesus to be a Messiah? And I've done that, and I'm telling you, they don't know. They have an answer, but it's completely disconnected to the Old Testament and the New Testament understanding of the Messiah, which is just another demonstration of why Islam is not an Abrahamic faith, because they don't even have the same concepts in the same way. The Messiah is a divine figure. He stands in the place of Yahweh. He does what Yahweh does, but he's also a man. And that's appropriate because it's Christmas, and so we're talking about the incarnation. Now, what I would say to you, bro, is if you recognize something is unjust, and if you recognize that something is true, have the inner strength within you to take one label off and put a new label on. Drop the label Muslim and have the strength to pick up the label Christian. Now, in terms of, I kind of forgot your other points. So, I forgot your other points. So I'm just going to talk about another point myself. In terms of injustice, yes, Muhammad set slaves free, but he also traded in black slaves. Now, black people rightly condemn my ancestors for their part in the slave trade, and you're right to do that. That means you are also right to condemn Muhammad for his part in trading black people. And if you can condemn my ancestors, you can damn well condemn Muhammad. And if you are going to condemn Muhammad, then he isn't a prophet for you to follow.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. For starters,
Time. Got to start your time.
Okay. You brought us some good points. I'll bear with this. However, again, Christianity is no better. You keep trying to say, oh yeah, come to Christianity like it's offering you something in addition. There's nothing in addition. In fact, all I'm doing is taking steps backwards, because before, like you said, before imperialism in the Middle East, there was nothing but holy crusaders killing people and putting them on the cross because they wouldn't be Christian. This is a fact. You can't get away from it. So, I wouldn't suggest that you should put one religion over the other, because, again, that's a crazy piece of ignorance, and I think it's very toxic. I'm going to keep pointing this out because that's not peaceful in the slightest. Understanding is the only way we're going to get through peace. Peace can only come by way of understanding, because if you do not understand, and you brought out some good points, I'm going to touch these. Messiah is a Hebrew word. But what about where the language Hebrew came from? You're talking about, I've asked Muslims what the Arabic definition of Messiah is, and they haven't got one, or they don't give you the accurate one. But how many Christians know Hebrew? Not a lot. So again, you're making points that are fair, but they're not in totality fair, because they're very biased. They're insinuating things that are not true. Do you understand? Okay, so I think the only way we can really get through this is if we do have a concordance along with the Arabic rendition to the same.
Okay, so just before I start my turn, would you like my coat? Because you look like you're freezing. Would you like my coat?
No, when I get too cold, you know.
Okay, all right. Are you sure?
Take it for a little bit. Go on.
I'm telling you,
For a little bit. Go on.
I'm good.
Just warm up, man.
All right. Yeah, you're cool. I mean, we can tell you're cool. You look frozen. All right. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So the first thing that you mentioned is, how is Christianity better than Islam? Christianity is better than Islam intellectually. It makes sense in a way that Islam doesn't when you examine it. It's better than Islam morally, because Islam teaches injustice. It is better than Islam culturally, because it created a civilization that everyone fled to, not fled from. And it is better than Islam politically, because it creates systems that people want to live under. You know, as we saw when the Taliban retook Afghanistan. We live in a reformed Christian world. The second point that I would make is that the Crusades. Let's be clear. The Crusades were a response to 700 years of continuous Islamic aggression. Christians did not go and attack the Muslims. The Muslims attacked Christians and have done for 1400 years. It wasn't just the Christians decided to go on crusade one day, it was that Muslims had invaded Christian lands, and it wasn't just European Christians that fought against those Muslims. Ethiopian Christians bore arms against Islamic jihads as well, and it was Christ and Christianity that united Portuguese Christians and Ethiopian Christians to defeat an Islamic jihad against the Christian kingdom of Ethiopia. And my third and my final point, because I know you value peace, but I want you to deal with this question: peace at what cost? Should we accept the trading of black children in Africa for the sake of peace? Should we accept the grooming of children in the north of England for the sake of peace? I answer no. 2 minutes.
Now, again, I'm going to keep saying this to you. There is not one religion that doesn't advocate righteousness. There isn't one religion that doesn't condemn evildoers. So when you try and say this, again, what you're doing is people are doing stuff, and what you're doing is you're attacking them based on faith alone. You're not asking where are they from. Is there a geographical location where these people come from? No, you're putting a belief system onto these people, and that is again very biased and not true. It's very convenient for you to do, but it's not fair. That's what I'm trying to say. Because now, as someone that's never been into the Middle East, you're going to now supersede Middle Eastern doctrine onto a faith that is predominantly in the Middle East. Do you understand? And so that's very different.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of course, myself, I would not let me find anyone that's a paedophile or anything. I know what I'm on. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not someone that advocates for that. I'm not someone that will ever overlook something like that. And I'm aware it goes on. Again, there's no ignorance, there's no biasness. I bear witness. However, what my point is, or my issue is right now, is that rather than understanding that, like I'm saying, there are Christians right now that are in jail for paedophilia.
Some of the things Christ
There
said
are
weren't
Christians
quite
right
strong,
now,
are a
your
bit
brothers,
racist. You know, this
that
is why
you've been raised under the same
dogs
banner of
deserve
faith.
this more than you do. It's
Rather
one
than
bit.
cleaning your
He does say
own
a couple of
dirty
things that are
laundry,
right.
you're
then he changes.
masquerading like your house is clean and condemning other people's dirty laundry. Maybe because they may have a few extra
not
socks
that we
on the
know
floor.
about.
That in itself
I hear that. I
is
think as a
very
doctor,
ignorant, very biased,
uplifting.
and I would like you
More
to
otherworldly in some ways.
answer
I
to
think
why
my
you do
habits-
that. Is that on
Islam
purpose
is
or
very
is it
opposite
subconscious?
world, and it's very, yeah. So, as a religion, I tend to. I'm not a Christian, but I lean towards.
Okay, so what I would say to you is that when we look at the life of Jesus and when we look at the life of Muhammad, they are light years apart. At a time when slavery was normal, Jesus never owned a slave. He could have, and no one would have batted an eyelid, but he never owned a slave. Christians say Jesus is our example. So when we, for instance, when Christians owned a slave, they weren't listening or following the example of Jesus. But Muslims say that Muhammad is their example. So when Muhammad sold black slaves, that is an example to them. And this is the difference. I'm not denying that Christians do bad things. You're absolutely right to point that out. I'm not denying it in any way. But I won't attack a group of people. I make a distinction between what people do and what their religion teaches. There are lots of good Muslims who don't do bad things.
Thank you.
But they do it because they're not following Islam. If they followed Islam, they would do a lot of bad things. But they don't follow Islam. And that is precisely why they're good people. But when you look at the people that are most desirous as following the example of Muhammad with ISIS, and you might say, oh, that's extreme. But you look at the practices of ISIS and you compare those practices to the practices of the Ottoman Empire, which Muslims celebrate as a real Islamic empire, they are identical. They did the same things down to a T. The only difference is Muslims celebrate the Ottoman Empire but condemn ISIS. That's my 2 minutes.
Hey, that was a powerful build. Hey, that's a powerful build.
How you doing, Bob?
How are we doing? I'm in the middle of a debate,
Oh,
bro.
all right, sorry.
That conversation.
You definitely
It was good.
that last one.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he smoked it.
Smoked you.
What, brother? You are a thoroughly lovely human being.
Thank you.
Really, you
So
are.
are you as well. I see what you're doing. And
And I completely appreciate the civilized, kind, respectful way that we've conducted this dialogue. And I would encourage you, bro, to go away, watch this video again, and every point that I make, research it. And if in your own study you discover, and this is why we end up shouting, because you've got these Muslims that just can't respect free speech. But I would encourage you that if what I've said is confirmed by your own study, that you have the courage to take this Muslim label off and to look again at Christ, who is our example, and to ask yourself, who is Jesus to me? Do I want to be his follower? Do I want to follow him and be a disciple of him rather than a disciple of Muhammad? And I would just leave that thought with you.
You're amazing.
Yeah, it was a
You're
good one. But it's his first time as well, so he.
Well, congratulations. You know, that's how debate should be. Now, I always give people a gift, or I have a nice conversation too. So I would like to. Have you got a Bible?
No.
You don't.
No, I do. Of course, I got a Bible.
You have a Bible. Brilliant. Then, because you're a man of study, I'd like to give you a book on theology. Read the book of Hebrews, and this is a book on theology that goes through Hebrews, looks at Hebrews. That is my gift to you. Merry Christmas. It was really nice to talk to you. What's your name, bro? Sorry?
Sheridan.
Sheridan.
I'll be going on camera as S-Man.
Okay, right.
Sheridan.
I'll have to edit that bit out.
You're
From
amazing.
Babylon 5. You guys remember that series, or am I just too old?
No, I don't know.
Babylon 5.
Before my time.
Yeah. Right.
You're amazing, though, man. Thank
Yeah.
you, man. I like what you're doing.
Think about what we said. Watch that video again. What's your channel?
Easy Herbs.
What? Easy Herbs. All right. Would you have any objections if at some point in the future I take the clip of this video and put it on my own channel?
No problem.
I'll give it a week so that people land on your channel first, because usually a video has about a week's turnover, and then I'll take it from your channall and put it on mine. Is that all right?
You want to take a picture of my
Easy Herbs. No, I'll remember. I'll see it. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right. It was nice to meet you,
What's your name
S-Man.
again, brother?
Bob,
Bob. Pleasure to meet you.
pleasure to meet you. Until next
I'm
time.
so grateful that you was like the first person I ever got to like. The
Yeah.
Nah, he come to the right person.
Yeah.
I come here for more health and science. That's why my name is
Yeah,
Easy
yeah.
Herbs. I deal with health and science.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's no one here to speak to, you know what I mean? I can deal with the African philosophy, but I'm not really in that.
Yeah.
I don't really. So
Yeah.
I like the comfort that you both have.
Yeah. So have a think about what we said, and if you got any questions, you come back and we'll talk again.
Let's go, man.
All right.
100%.
God bless you, S-Man. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Easy Herbs.
Yeah. Easy Herbs. I'll look out for it.
There was one thing I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, of course.
I've lost it. It'll come back to me. You're going to be around, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until a bit later today.
I remember there was something I wanted to ask.
I'm going to do a talk now.
How are you? So
Yeah.
you're going to be busy for quite a while.
Yeah. But come and grab us when you see I'm free. Don't be frightened.
worries, no
Don't be
worries.
shy. Yeah. So I was talking to S-Man. He's a really lovely guy. First time in the park. And like a lot of people, he's been influenced by the strength of Islam in our society. And that needs to be a wake-up call to Christians, that people are identifying with Islam purely upon its sociological strength. And Christians, this is why we need a muscular Christianity. But ultimately, we were talking about, should a person follow Jesus Christ or should a person follow Muhammad? And as you saw from the arguments, Christians have really good grounds, moral grounds. We didn't get into much doctrinal grounds, but we did on some, particularly around the Messiah. We've got good grounds to reject Islam. Islam doesn't understand what the Messiah is. Islam justifies a religious apartheid. Islam justifies a slave trade. But when we look at Jesus, we don't find those things. And we look at the New Testament and it understands what the Old Testament says about the Messiah. And so I would encourage you, if you're one of those people like S-Man, that is searching for truth and has been influenced by Islam, have the strength to reject something that is worthy of your rejection. If you, the black community, can condemn my ancestors for trading in slaves, and you're right to do so, then you should also condemn Muhammad for trading in slaves.